Cable chaos cripples Creality, backpedal blitz as Elegoo Centauri Carbon reversal rattles users, and Seam shows on supposedly seamless spirals, and yes, we'll be talking about the Flashforge thing too. All this and more, PrintFix Friday, episode 219. We're at the end of form next. It's been some amazing stuff this week. Let's get into it. Starting off strong here with something that we've seen before, but I don't think we've ever had it captured so elegantly on camera. Let's take a look. Got an Ender 3 here, just doing its thing, printing happily, but yeah. So it's the problem, and a known problem, with the X-axis cable. If you don't put some sort of cable chain or even like nylon filament like Prusa used to do to give that cable just a little bit of structure to it, it can start to sag. It's an older machine, okay? Gravity's a thing. It happens to all of us. It's totally normal. And with a little nip and tuck and just a little bit of a inserted filler there, you too can be nice and stiff and strong again. There's no way I'm getting out of that one, but this is the problem that we see with machines like this, where they are built to a price point. The Gen 1 Ender 3s, we're selling as low as like $100 US or even lower, brand new in the box on Amazon, at Micro Centers, and other retailers across the states. And while it is a V2, not as old as the V1, it is still an older machine and something that Creality never really fixed. It was kind of always up to the users. Gen 1 and Gen 2 Ender 3s, in my opinion, were always looked at as a platform to learn. It wasn't a machine that you would buy and expect to print perfectly out of the box, especially nowadays. You bought it because you wanted to tinker, you wanted to learn, you wanted something that you could kind of use and abuse, and it really wasn't that cheap to replace any parts that might have failed. Luckily, this individual was right there, managed to stop the print quickly, but yeah, they're definitely scared. We can see their cables got messed up. Looks like they might even have a burned connector in there. Enders were always built to a price point, and I hate to say it that way. Couple things you can do is make sure that if your machine doesn't have wire ferrules, that you go ahead and put them on. Now, do not do this if you are not comfortable. You must be comfortable working with DC voltages. You must be comfortable working on the inside of a machine and comfortable working around a machine that you will have to make sure is not live and active with power. You will have to know things like discharging capacitors and stuff like that. So if you have a basic knowledge of electronics, you'll be fine. Otherwise, please don't do what we're about to say. But you can go through, put wire ferrules on all the connections, get rid of any tin solder joints that are on there, any wires that are tinned and then put into those screw terminals. They are a recipe for fires. It is not good, and you don't want them inside of your machines. And we can see wire ferrules don't exist here. Wire ferrules can be relatively affordable on Amazon, so you don't have to get the really fancy ones. Even cheap ones will do just fine. But please, 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 don't prove I'm right. Replace those tinned wires with ferrules. If you don't want to do ferrules, at least cut and strip the cables and don't tin them. Just clamp them back into the screw terminals. That is better than the way that it currently is. And it should keep the machine running a little bit better. But the damage that we see to those pin terminals is not likely from the same problem. The nozzle shorting itself out and damaging pieces in the machine electronically, that is likely what caused the issue that we're seeing. The burned connectors are just part of it. They were likely already there, in my opinion, and did not occur during this particular failure. Unfortunately, if the machine is not turning on, and realistically, if there is a burnt or blackened area on the motherboard, and according to the user there is, it is best to just replace the motherboard. But at this point, is it worth it? I'd love to know from you all down in the comments. Do you think it's worth it to replace the motherboard in an Ender 3 V2? Me personally, it's a bit of a toss-up. You can get a big Tree Tech motherboard for it, maybe 20, 30 bucks. That will unlock it for using Clipper and things like that, but you're still working with an Ender 3 as a base, which historically is not the strongest base for a 3D printer, but is absolutely great if you're on a budget. If you do have electronic skills, again, you can desolder the burned out parts, solder on new ones, and you'll be good to go. But we generally don't recommend that the average user tackles this because, well, again, if you don't know what you're doing, you're just going to make the problem worse. Speaking of making problems worse, my name is Grant. This is 3D Musketeers with PrintFixFriday, where we generally don't make problems worse, although, who knows, by the end of this episode, there's a lot of drama in this one, so make sure to leave a like, get subscribed, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride as we move into two companies who are, for some odd reason, deciding to fight over who can have a larger community backlash over a piece of PR. So, Elegoo put out a notice for the Centauri Carbon, which basically says, TLDR, we're pulling the rug. And while Elegoo has updated it, claiming that, no, it's not a rug pull, it kind of feels like it. Centauri Carbon was always positioned as a machine that would get a future multicolor upgrade via an AMS-like unit, right? Because definitely not everybody's doing those these days, but Elegoo has already been caught showing off the Centauri Carbon 2, which has multicolor, but it doesn't appear that it can be ported back down to the Centauri Carbon 1 because it's a built-in system, not an added-on system. A lot of users who dug into these to begin with, looking at you, open Centauri peeps, realize very quickly that the limitations of the hardware, of which Elegoo themselves have admitted, make it incredibly difficult to add anything to this machine, let alone bone stock Clipper running with full hardware acceleration like you would expect. And, well, understandably, users kinda pissed. You can scroll through just the Twitter thread and see how upset people are, and honestly, this is the one that stands out to me the most. It's Joel Telling, the 3D printing nerd, someone who, in my opinion, does his best to kind of stay out of the drama and things going on in the industry, making an actual public comment about this, saying many people bought the Centauri Carbon because of the upgrade to multicolor was coming later. Were you one of these people? And yeah, I'm glad that I didn't go down this road, and I don't think that Elegoo is offering something that is reasonable to say, oh, oops, we're sorry, right? So option A is a $50 coupon, which is valid for 3 months and only on orders over $100. Option B is an additional year extension on the warranty. And option C is an $80 coupon, which can go to a Centauri Carbon 2 combo to be released in Q1 of 26. I just don't think that this is a reasonable thing, and I think that users have a very valid reason to be upset here. We've talked a lot about the Centauri Carbon and how we kind of look at it as the poverty P1P, and I think so far Elegoo's had a decent, hey, you have an issue, okay, we're gonna take care of it. They haven't acted as quickly as we would like, but they've acted. That's a big deal to me, but this doesn't go very well. And if we look on their Reddit thread, they even have a stickied comment saying, just to clarify, we didn't stop the Centauri Carbon multicolor system development. It's still in progress and we're working to get it right. We know you've waited patiently, and we really appreciate your support as always. That's why we are launching this loyalty program. We hope to share an update on the multicolor system soon. Thanks for being with Elegoo. And honestly, I'm sorry, Elegoo, I'm not buying it, and I don't think users are buying it either. We want to see something that was promised, and those of you in the UK and the EU that have much stronger consumer protection laws than we do here in the US, read your rules. That's all I'm saying. I feel like my name is Destin Sandlin and I'm talking to you about getting smarter every day and riding the backwards bicycle because these people are backpedaling so hard that I'm wondering if there was any thought put into it. And don't worry, this is not the only instance of ridiculous backpedaling in this episode. I am hoping that Elegoo will take some time in the next week or two to go ahead and amend these, provide a better value to the consumer, provide them with at least a $100 gift card or $100 toward a Centauri Carbon 2 combo, but if nothing else, give them an actual date for when they can expect it. Show something. Even if it's not working perfectly, show something. Because right now, it feels like vaporware, it looks like vaporware, it smells like vaporware, and I still am looking for CoffeeZilla because I think he's going to talk about a rug pull. This is about as close as I've seen a rug pull in this industry since, like, the Peachy printer. And if you don't know about that one, Google it. It's an interesting one. It was the first 3D printer to print a house. Technically. I don't have a good solution other than tell the freaking truth, because that's all that users want. If there's still a delay, tell them there's a delay, but at least show them something. Does this change your feelings on the Centauri Carbon 2? I'm a little more milquetoast about the Centauri Carbon 2 now, and certainly similar to the Centauri Carbon 1, I'm not going to be a first adopter of this. Unless Elegoo wants to send us one to take a look at, I'm not going to be spending money up front. We've seen a lot of growing pains with the Centauri Carbon 1. I'm hoping a lot of this will be solved with Centauri Carbon 2, similar to like the Core 1 and the Core 1L, where the Core 1L is a much more polished machine out of the box than the Core 1 was. But let me know. I know this one is a bit sensitive for you, so keep it civil. Let's move from one PR nightmare to another with Flashforge putting out this post on Twitter, Instagram, and other social media saying no to weaponized 3D printing, saying that Flashforge does not support or condone the 3D printing of firearms or weapon components, subject to the Flashforge user agreement. And really, it's none of that that's the issue. It's the last sentence. Flashforge prohibits using our products and services to create firearms or weapon components. Violations may lead to account termination and referral to authorities. My stance on 3D2A is, if you're gonna do it, don't be stupid. It's that simple. And why, if you're doing it, are your machines connected to the internet? Have you never heard of ITAR and CMMC? Because I don't know, or I didn't know, doesn't work unless you're really, really rich. It's a caveat in the US now. But I don't have an issue with everything in red. A company is welcome to make whatever stance they want, right? It's a free country, and people are able to reply and respond however they want, and boy howdy did they. Unfortunately, Flashforge has since deleted the post everywhere, and it basically put out a backpedal that once again makes me wonder if they're going to be competing in a backwards bicycle race, saying, we do not collect or view any unauthorized data during your printing process. Unauthorized. You and I will define unauthorized data very differently, but I would assume you should be reading your end user license agreements, because we all definitely read those and don't just click accept, that you've likely authorized them to collect and view the data. They're not collecting or viewing unauthorized data because it's all been authorized. They say that your printing data is always fully under your control. That's right, you can take your printers offline, and they respect every creator's rights and freedom. Dot/, and the 3D Print General, and others were quick to figure out that this actually comes from a letter from the District Attorney of New York, who basically went to multiple 3D printing companies saying, hey, your machines were used in illegal seizures of the manufacturing of firearms, and we need it to stop. DAs are welcome to do whatever they want. It is once again a free country. This is not a political debate. I don't care what your feelings are, and if you all try to have political arguments in the comments, I'm gonna delete them, because that's not what we're here for. We are here to talk about the actual implications of all of this, okay? I think it is well within Flashforge, Creality, and others' best move to apply some level of we don't condone these activities in their terms of service. And then when people inevitably do it, they can say, well, we told them not to. But taking a stance saying that they're going to turn you in to the authorities is a huge issue. There is a big community for the 3D2A. And for those who don't know 3D2A, that's the 3D printing of the Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms in the United States. It's to protect you from a tyrannical government. Anyways, while it is an interesting thing, and it is absolutely a challenge of physics, and sometimes just because you can doesn't mean you should, I don't think that a company should be basically saying, we're going to tell on you. And this is another reason that we tell you all the time, don't put your printers online, especially if you're printing firearms. And please, know your laws, know your rules. If you don't have an FFL, you can't make them for other people. You can make them for yourself as long as you're in the US and you are not a prohibited person. But if you can't pass a 4473 or you don't know what a 4473 is, you probably shouldn't be making 3D printed firearms because it's a felony. Machines these days are ever connected, and it's something that we personally have a huge issue with. Many people find this to be a benefit. I find it to be a problem because that means they're collecting and sending data, sometimes without your knowledge. Now, you've consented to it because you agreed to the end user license agreement, but you might not understand what's being sent. And what gets scary is when they say that they can turn you into the authorities. Now, they claim they're not going to, but do we actually trust this? I would heavily recommend, 3D 2A or otherwise, take your 3D printers offline. There's a reason there's the whole joke of Bridgeport don't snitch, because it can't. Old school knee mills like Bridgeport's don't have network connections. They're made of cast iron. That's all they know. They know cast iron, chips, and abuse. That's all they know, and damn it, they like it. As the world becomes ever connected, we will see at some point a precedent set for 3D printing of firearms and what that means for the International Traffic in Arms Regulation, aka ITAR, what that could potentially mean for violations, for jail time, financial implications, whatever it may be. But I also have to say that if you're a marketing team out there, please don't be stupid. What Flashforge did, they should have known better. They should have known they were going to anger a community that is very, very vocal about anything that is anti-firearm. Flashforge did not need, in my opinion, to make a public statement whatsoever about this. All they had to do was just update their TOS, push out an email saying, hey, we've updated our TOS. Continuing use of our services mean that you agree to our TOS. If you would like to view it, you can click here. Please and thanks. Have a nice day. Nobody would click it. Nobody would read it. Nobody would care. And this would have blown over like it was nothing. But I don't think that the onus is on the manufacturer to police what civilians or what users or what customers do with their equipment. It's the same way that automakers don't police when you go over the speed limit. That's what the police are for. Do people still go out and street race? Absolutely. Do manufacturers condone it? Absolutely not. But do they come out and say that we don't support it and we are going to turn in anybody that is speeding? Because of course manufacturers are collecting telemetry data on your cars too. No, because they're not dumb. This is a huge issue if manufacturers are going to start providing data on what's being 3D printed to authorities, because a lot of you are printing things that have NDAs on them. Maybe they're IP protected, and maybe you're thinking twice about having your machines online. If this is what gets you to take your machine offline, or at least consider building a separate VLAN for your 3D printers, hey, I will call this a win overall, because this is the first time that we've had a company legitimately say that they will turn people over to authorities. Will they actually do it? That is only to be seen. I'd love to know from you all what your thoughts are on this, because yeah, it's a slippery slope. You ain't getting political in those comments, because I will delete them. Let's have a civil discussion about this. I don't want to talk about the legality of 2A. You all, if you're doing it, you should know your laws and don't be stupid about it. But I want to know what your feelings are about a company making a claim like this, because we've been talking about companies tracking and logging what you're printing for years now. That's not going anywhere. And hey, a huge thank you goes out to all the channel member supporters whose names are listed right next to me at the $5 tier and higher. Your support has helped us get to Formnext and cover some of the amazing things that are happening at the show. So thank you. And you will absolutely be getting lots of extended cuts, extended releases, and tons of behind the scenes footage that come out of Formnext and the places we're going after Formnext. So if you do want to see those things, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you do want to see those things, you can join for as little as $1 a month. And at the $10 tier, you get to come hang out in our private Discord server, where we will be showing you guys some behind the scenes stuff before it goes out to the rest of social media. That's all we have for you all today. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one.